One.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello.
Hello.
Chief, how are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
Good, thanks.
Warm?
Yeah, trying to.
You're out there.
It is cold.
Welcome, everyone, to City Council Work Session for Monday, December 20th, 2021. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have a roll call, Mr. Rogers?
Yes. Councilman Scaringi,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Strawn,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
President Rasnetti.
Present.
That's all 7 members present.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so we're just going to move things around just a little bit tonight, and we're going to start with folks from the YMCA. I'm sorry, YWCA, to talk to us a little bit about this very exciting project that we've heard about and that we are just very excited about.
Well, thank you, Council President Rasnetti. Very pleased to be joined by Carol Coppins, who is the Executive Director of the YWCA, as well as many members of the Board of Directors, the Board of Trustees at the YWCA, who are also here. I'll turn it over to Carol in a moment to really talk about the specifics of the project. Members of City Council certainly, I'm sure, received the news release that was sent out earlier today. We had an announcement with members of the YWCA and Assemblywoman Donna Lepardo with regards to the specifics of the project, but I just want to quickly reiterate what the administration is requesting by way of legislation for this project. And it's 2-part. One is to allocate approximately $500,000. I mean, not approximately, that's the exact amount, $500,000 from our ARPA funds to go towards the affordable childcare portion of the project, which is rehabilitation of the Urban League building on Carroll Street. And then in addition to the project, there is affordable housing component of the project that will encompass multiple parcels on Lyle Ave, 2 of which are currently owned by the city of Binghamton. So we're looking to sell 2 of those parcels on Lyle Ave that are currently owned by the city to the YWCA for $1, in addition to allocating the $500,000 to a child care project. And as members of council are aware, that is a defined and permitted use of the ARPA funds as spelled out by the U.S. Treasury Department. And just want to say that the city, we are extremely excited to work and partner with the YWCA on this project. This is a fantastic project for downtown. I think all of you are aware that the YWCA, its executive director and team and all of the employees provide a great service, not only to the city of Binghamton, but our community as a whole. And we're certainly very proud of the fact that you are headquartered and located here in the city of Binghamton, and we're looking forward to advance this particular project. I also just want to briefly touch on the childcare component. When we talk to employers about locating into the city or the region, access to childcare continues to be a barrier to getting people to work, to go back to work. And the fact that the YWCA is looking to double its complement right now will just help from a variety of different vantage points, including an economic development standpoint. And as we've had discussions about different types of safe, quality, affordable housing in the city of Binghamton and Broome County and the lack thereof, we have been looking for a project that includes a component for low-income seniors. And that is another aspect of this project that certainly makes it very attractive. Over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, obviously, there's been multiple projects that have been advanced with regards to student housing, low-income housing, workforce housing, market rate housing, luxury high-end housing, et cetera. But to be able to also partner with the Y and have a component that targets or focuses on low-income seniors is just another very, very attractive aspect of this project. So with that, I want to thank Carol and her team for coming tonight and taking the time to answer questions and talk a little bit more about this great project. Carol?
Thank you so much, Mayor. It's my pleasure and honor actually to be here to talk about this. It's an amazing thing to me when I think about how this came to be in the midst of a pandemic. And the board of directors at the end of last year had approved a strategic plan to find a new location for our childcare center. 80 Hawley Street has not been the best location. We have no parking, we have no playground, difficult for the parents to get in and out, and it's a limited space. And so over the years, we recognized the fact that there were many limitations to its location. So we began this whole where we are today by starting to search somewhere for a potential location for this new center. And as we were going through the early stages, coming up empty-handed with really nothing that was suitable for us to move to. We were even looking as far as Johnson City, and we did not want to leave the city of Binghamton with our childcare center and move it somewhere else. And we were at a press conference for our Stand Against Racism when the mayor mentioned to me that he knew we were searching and that the city was looking to do this major project in the park that abuts, is right across the street from the Urban League building. And that maybe the YWCA would be interested in that location, except that there really was not enough space for us in the park itself. And right shortly after that, I learned that the Urban League's building on Carroll Street was for sale. And so we embarked on a plan to convince the owners to sell it to us. But at the same time that we were working with the realtor to figure out how that could work, Mayor David told us that the city would be very interested in working with us to bring this about because of the nature of the project and its location and the revitalization of that neighborhood. Being able to repurpose that building for childcare would really be the best outcome. So with that, we worked on a purchase agreement with the seller, and that was successful. And at the same time, we learned about 34 Carroll Street being available and 24 Carroll, the wooded lot, and then the two lots after that on Lyle Street, giving us a footprint of, I think, a little over 5 acres, as the mayor mentioned at today's press conference. We have an architect who's worked with us, helping me to renovate our building. We have a developer who's worked with us, helping us to be successful with a number of grants and renovating our building. With multiple meetings with them, it was determined that this was really a project worth looking at and moving forward. So we had the Carroll Street building, the land behind it, the building alongside the Urban League, and a lot right next to it, all leading to what the mayor described at the press conference today. I think it's an opportunity that rarely comes along in the lifetime of a not-for-profit in a 501c3 world. And with all the support from Assemblywoman Lepardo, the city of Binghamton, other funders who have been talking to me as well, who are very excited about this, we are moving forward with the project, hopefully getting city council's approval as well, which is also very critical and important to this project being able to move forward.
Okay, thank you for that information. It does sound like a whole lot of pieces came together just at the right time, and I'm personally very excited about it. I do agree that, childcare particularly is just one of the big issues that we always need to be tackling and be dealing with. And I'm just wondering, specific to that, like what are the NAR?
Interrupting President Resinetti, it's difficult
Yes.
to hear you.
Okay, is my mic on? It's on, right. So I'm just wondering if we have a sense of how many children or families will be serving.
Absolutely. We will approximately triple our capacity at the new center. With the additional parcels of land, our architect has given us a schematic that shows at the 80 Holly Street childcare, we have one classroom per age group for infants, toddlers, preschool, and pre-K. At the new building, we will have 3 classrooms per age group. So that would be infants, toddlers, preschool, and pre-K. And there's 3 classrooms per, plus a school age complement as well. Space in the building to do school age, which is becoming also as critical as all the rest of the early childhood care.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Councilwoman Riley?
Thank you, Council President. Hello, everyone there in the room. We can't see you, but we did hear who is there to present the information and share the information about such an exciting program and project. I am glad to hear the idea and the plans for partnering, the city's plans to partner with the Y and the expansion and the focus on childcare and housing, 2 topics we've been talking about a lot. And we know that are pressing and very necessary in our community. I'm glad to see that this leadership, this administration is now prioritizing things like that. So I'm excited to support whatever we can to help ensure that this moves forward. As you know, again, our community needs it. The Y is a staple that has been invested for a long time. So we know that it will be a worthy investment, something that we will see the growth and be proud of the growth. And again, I just want to recognize the administration's support now. And thank you. I wish we could have heard about the press conference. That's something we would have loved to have attended as well. But I'm glad it did occur. I'm glad the announcement came out this morning and we were apprised of it this morning. Again, worthwhile project, and I support it wholeheartedly.
I think Councilman Scanlon, you had your hand up first. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Resinetti. Carol, maybe you can answer this question, maybe you can't. What will become of your current space there where you are now? Do you have a plan for that?
We're considering various housing related programs in that space. We have a high need for handicap housing in our building, which we don't have with the current apartments. There are 54 apartments in our building, and we are housing up to 60 women on any given day of the week, but those apartments are small and they're not designed for real handicap access. So that's a need we are looking to address. Emergency shelter, we just expanded our shelter this early spring and summer by 9 beds, but that's another high need that we could utilize that space for. The primary drawback for childcare in that space was the lack of parking and no playground. And this new location will have an abundance of both of those things, plus being right across from the park puts it in such a fantastic neighborhood. So we are looking at how to utilize that street level space that the current childcare is occupying. And we believe that the use it will be put to will be as beneficial, if not more so, than what the childcare center was doing in that space. So we're gathering data and taking a look at what might go in there in place of Young Wonders. And there's also the option that we would leave it as a childcare center, but that's not likely based on the fact that there's no parking and no playground there.
All right, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Councilman Strawn.
Thank you, Madam President. This is definitely very exciting. I know where I'm at, childcare and transportation are the two biggest hindrances for workers. And I think that's just fantastic to have it down there. Just a general question: is the time frame going to start right away in the spring when break, or what's the general time frame of the project as far as you can tell early on?
I didn't quite understand your question.
I was excited about the project. I was just wondering the general
yes,
time frame. Yeah.
Last week. No.
Yeah.
We just finished the 2 purchase agreements to buy these properties. And so now we are focusing on the development side of it. And that will be in the next few months. We will have identified all the sources of funding. Most of them will be with New York State, various and sundry entities that are familiar with me in the YWCA. That would be the Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, Homeless Housing Assistance Program, the New York State Division of Housing and Community Renewal, Low Income Housing Tax Credits, Market Tax Credits, most likely also the Regional Economic Development Council, and then a number of local foundations that have expressed an interest in this project. So we will be working on that over the next few months. I'm anticipating, if all goes as well as I think it will, we'll have the money in hand and be able to start the work in 2024.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
Have a good night. Here. Something else?
Yes, Council President Rossanetti, thank you very much. I just figured while I was here, if I could, I know this item is actually under, I believe, pending legislation after your agenda, but I was not able to attend the previous work session 2 weeks ago, and we sent down a RL at the very last minute based on a phone call that I'd received from the state of New York for $3 million for a project at Town and Country. So I just wanted to come and share additional information. The project itself, council members, I believe, are aware of. It was a project that we announced and shared the details with, admittedly, a couple of years ago before COVID, but it is a project that many of you have asked me about over the course of the last 2 years. And so the call I received 2 weeks ago from Home and Community Renewal, in essence, indicated that the state was willing to fund this project in 2022. So I do expect an announcement to be coming next year. But as this, like many projects, was a COVID casualty, there's always a shortfall. And this project is really no different than any of the other projects where the city of Binghamton provides some aspect of federal funds to make a reality, whether it's the YWCA project that we just talked about, whether it's the Opportunities for Broome and Shenango project or First Ward Action Council project or Land Bank project that we are already using ARPA funds for, or the Canal Plaza project, or Crandall Street project where we used federal home funds for. This is the same sort of arrangement, but in the event that since it's been a few years, the Town and Country project with JE Properties out of Boston, Massachusetts, that was an approximately $38 million rehabilitation of the Town and Country apartments. And so this is funding that would go into the project itself, and the state of New York would provide the maximum amount of tax credits and other sorts of state financing in order to make this project reality as well. This Town and Country was built in 1963 and has 253 units and 22 separate buildings. So when we talk about how we maximize the impact of these funds, 253 units. And of course, many of these units have more than one person living in there. Oftentimes it could be families. I'm sure there are individuals there as well, but it's more than 253 people. This is a way to maximize the investment. So the reason why I say that is the state was looking before that they moved forward, finalizing on their end, they wanted to ensure that the city was committed to making this project a reality, that it was a top priority. I reiterated to the state of New York and Home and Community Renewal that while we have several applications and there are several projects that the administration is working, several affordable housing projects the city of Binghamton is working on with multiple developers, that this really was the top priority due to its location on the north side, due to in many cases, decrepit housing conditions that exist, code-related issues, public safety-related issues. So what we're doing is, in essence, just advancing that that priority. There is still work that needs to be done on the developer side in order to make this a reality. But this is, in essence, a placeholder, and the state was looking for the resolution to symbolize or finalize the city's commitment to this project. But it's something that has been a top priority for the administration. We were not willing to let this project go by the wayside because it was because of COVID. And yes, like many other projects, there were increases with regards to materials and the cost of the project itself. But if you'll recall, I believe the second and third request out of the ARPA funds for Opportunities for Broome and Shenango and the First Ward Action Council were for the exact same reasons. These were projects that had been funded previously that were ready to go, but because of the impact of COVID, there became gaps in the project. And so we used our ARPA funds in those projects, albeit a much smaller amount in the area of $300,000 or $400,000 each to leverage those projects, but they were both in the $8 to $10 million range each of those projects. So we have really tried to follow the standards that Empire State Development has set with regards to putting in no more than 20 or 25% of a project. In this particular case, it's $3 million out of $38 million. So it's far less than 10%. So we feel that this is money well spent, will address a significant number of individuals and families who live in the poorest area of the city in what we are very concerned about by the housing conditions that they live in. This developer is very similar to, Community Potential, which is the developer that did the Canal Plaza housing project. And we like to work with developers that the state is also willing to invest money in as well. So that was why that RL came late in the day at the council work session 2 weeks ago, was based on the phone call I received. And I'm just trying to advance this as quickly as possible so that the developer can do everything that they need to do to solidify the deal on their end, and that the state can continue to move forward with the rather generous and significant amount of financial incentives needed to make this project a reality.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have any questions? Councilwoman Freeman?
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Mayor David. How are you?
I'm doing well, Councilwoman. How are you?
Good, thanks. Okay, so I do have some questions about this project. I will start off by saying that this is obviously a housing complex that is in my district, and I have received a significant number of complaints. Like often, I would say if there are like code concerns, they are often coming from those apartments or the immediate surrounding area. So this is definitely an issue. I've seen some photos of things that are going on. So this is definitely a long time coming. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is, I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, that the $3 million of ARPA funding would go to this private developer, JE Properties?
It goes into the project itself, by way of the developer, but the money goes into the actual rehabilitation of the project. So it goes into the physical upgrades of those units, et cetera.
Okay.
Just as, for example, the presentation with the YWCA, the $500,000 we're asking for doesn't go to the YWCA, it goes into the rehabilitation of the Urban League building. It's the exact same sort of scenario.
Okay. So I'm looking, I have the RL from 2019 pulled up here. That was the pilot agreement with JE Properties. And I think something that I have, so I haven't looked at this in a while, to be honest with you, but something that I had flagged the first time I saw this was I think it was the word affordable. And I was wondering what kind of, this is maybe up to city council actually, but I worry that we, let's say, invest a lot of money, $38 million into rehabilitating this housing complex. And then what ends up happening is that the owners or the managers could say, wow, we have all of these shiny new appliances and furnaces and whatever else is improved. And then they say, okay, we're going to raise the rent because now this is, a really swell place to live. And I think that the initial pilot that was approved in 2019 had the word affordable in it. And how can we ensure, and maybe I'm just talking out loud here, but how can we ensure that that is not going to happen and that we can continue to have Town and Country be a low cost, high quality place to live?
Sure, that's a great question, and this has actually come up several times over the course of the years. So let me say two things. One is I do want to say I remember saying this 2 years ago when we talked about this project, but I just want to reiterate it again. There are soft costs included in the 38 million, and the soft costs being the architect, engineering, et cetera. So just so you're aware of that, the overwhelming price tag or cost obviously goes into rehabilitation, but there's not an additional X million of dollars on top of this in soft costs. So just to, I guess, restate that. But the other part of that is actually handled not by City Council, but by the state of New York. The state actually has a lot of safeguards in place that that ensures that they can only have the rents at a certain amount of money. And if they break those, they are in default of the incentives that they receive by the state of New York. And this is more of a layman's explanation. I'm sure there's a much more technical explanation, but I've heard this come up, and I've heard HCR, basically explain this, that they're entering into an agreement with the developer that that outlines, what the rents have to be and, what the estimated, annual increase could be, et cetera. But they do this to ensure that what you're describing does not happen. And I would go on to say that, that we would share that concern as well. This is an affordable housing project. It's designed obviously not to displace anyone. And I remember when Joe Eddy came to City Council, he spent a great deal of time talking about how residents wouldn't be displaced and they would actually be moving some of the existing residents into vacant units so they could, while they were renovating their apartments. So I remember there was a great deal of care being put into protecting the current tenants that were there and ensuring that it remained affordable housing for the duration.
Okay, that's comforting to hear, because I know sometimes the word affordable could be, sometimes people have different definitions of what is affordable or market rate. And so, yeah, that would be, again, something that would be a big concern to me, as I'm sure is no surprise. It's something I bring up a lot, is like displacement and making sure that we're not pricing people out of their homes.
Sure, I would say that you and I are on the same page on that.
Yeah. I think that those were both of my questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think those are both of my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Councilman Burns? I think you're muted.
There. Thank you, Madam President. Thanks for coming down, Mayor. And it's the YW thing sounds great. I wish it was going to happen before 2024. That seems a long way off. But in regards to this, the $3 million, do we hold on to the money until it's solidified, until the work starts, until the work is the work?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So I guess just to be clear, approving this does not mean that the money goes to the developer. There would be a separate RL, as has been the case with other projects where we would enter into, there would be an RL authorizing the mayor, and in this case would be the next mayor, to enter into an agreement with, so-and-so for. So really what you're doing right now is you're earmarking or encumbering this money for this project. It still stays on the city's, side of the house, the city's accounts until all of this stuff is finalized. So it's not leaving the city. It's just you're making a commitment that when this happens, that the money is available. So it's being encumbered.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councilman.
Riley?
Thank you, Council President. Hello, Mayor David.
Hello, Councilwoman. How are you?
Great, great. So since many of us were not seated at the time when Joe Eddy made the presentations and plans and discussed what the city and he determined for this project, is it possible that he could possibly come back and give us an update?
Sure, that's entirely possible.
Okay, I think that would be beneficial because again, most of us were not here. Similarly, you mentioned the agreement, the contract that would bind them to certain rental rates. That is something the city should be interested in holding and reviewing. Have we obtained such?
Well, that really is done. It's between the state and the developer. Let me rephrase that. In order for the developer to get a range of incentives from the state, they are committing at that time. If you're looking for a copy of that from the state, I'm sure the state could provide. I'm sure the state could provide the information that you're seeking. But what happens is, if the developer is ever in default, then then, when you're in default, you have to, refund or return all of the money. So,
Right, but as a partner investing $3 million, we ought to also be aware of what is expected of one of the major partners, one of the major entities in the city, correct?
I certainly don't think that it's any issue getting the information from the state. And if that's something that you want, I'm sure the state would be more than willing to provide it. And I'm sure the administration could help facilitate that.
That would be great. I think, again, if we want to ensure that our residents are protected, and as a major investor in one of the major properties in the city, that's important to understand, at least be aware of. For example, when First Ward was pursuing the tax credits, there were certain pieces that he shared with us in the RL. And speaking of which, the RL we received was a skeleton. Will we be receiving an update?
For which project?
For this project, the 3 million that was requested. I'm not sure if you saw the actual RL, but it left much to be desired in terms of detail.
Well, details of the project?
Of the project, of the investment, everything that you're verbalizing now, shouldn't it have been in written format with the
Sure.
RL?
So I suppose your initial comment that many of you or some of you might not have been seated when this project started, because that information was provided at that point in time. But you're correct that we can reprovide that for individuals that may have been seated since that point in time when the information was shared. So from our standpoint, I mean, this is information that's been out there for a period of time. It was shared with council, but you're correct that it was shared with the previous council, and some of those members have changed. So we can provide the same information that we provided back then. And your point about the First Ward Action Council is a good one, because whether it's the Binghamton Housing Authority, Opportunities for Broome and Shenango, the Family Enrichment Network, First Ward Action Council, YWCA, others, any organization that receives whether it's tax credits, grants, loans, other sorts of financial incentives from the state, they're all bound by the same sort of criteria that we're talking about here with regards to what the rents could be.
Absolutely. And as a partner, to show good faith in your partnership, you give as much info as possible. And so again, I'm just requesting that if it is available, if the administration can work to ensure that we are provided some of that information, that would be great.
Sure. That's no problem whatsoever, Councilwoman.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I look forward to receiving it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions? Okay, great. Let's move on.
Councilwoman, if I may, Council President Ressanetti. So I just want to thank you, all of the members of City Council. As you know, this is my last work session here as mayor. So I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all 7 of you. It's a little bit bittersweet, this being my last work session, but I did want to say thank you to all the council members and say, I've enjoyed working with this council, with the previous council, There have been 3 separate councils, some of which have overlapped the members. But I believe we have now 7 business days left. I think it's 11 days, but 7 business days left. So we'll continue to work to transition with the incoming administration. I just want you to know that you all have my contact information. I will continue, obviously, to be around in Binghamton as I pursue my next opportunity. But I just wanted to say that if any of the 7 of you, ever need anything, you're looking for institutional knowledge or information, or really just if there's anything that you need, I just want you to know that you should never hesitate to call me or reach out, and I will continue to do what I can to help you individually as council members, the city of Binghamton as a whole. And so I just want to say I'm grateful for the opportunity that I had, and in case I don't get to see or address all of you before the end of the year. I just want to wish each and every one of you happy holidays. Thank you. And I do feel that, when I walk out the door on December 31st, I'm leaving, I guess I'm leaving it all on the field, so to speak. So we'll have different engagements or interactions, from then on forward. But regardless, I was here to do my job. My job was to advance what our agenda was in an effort to move the city forward. And I feel that I worked as hard as I could and did the best I could with regard to advancing that vision. So I also want to publicly thank the employees who work here at City Hall in every department, the department heads. I may be the one that you interact with, but it is a team of people that help advance these initiatives. So with that, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to Al Garner. Chief, you're up next. You've been waiting patiently.
Thank
Are
you,
you there?
ma'am. Yes, I am.
Oh,
see
there
me
you
up?
are. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I see you have RL 21-292 and you want it expedited. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is, we need to transfer $636.48 from the building and equipment line to the travel and training line. And this is to make up for a gap, shortfall, pay for our paramedic students' tuition at SUNY Broome. And like I said, we'd like to pay that bill this week if we can.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Next up, we have Pat McGinnis. Hi,
Hey, how are you guys?
how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. You have RL 21-289.
Yep, this is to transfer money from our professional services line to our capital line for our Parks Garage roof. The project got delayed due to various things, and prices went up significantly because of COVID. So we're just trying to get this money transferred so we can get the contractor squared away.
Okay, any comments or questions, for Pat? Councilwoman Freeman?
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Pat, how are you?
Good, how about you?
Good, thanks. Can you explain why you are asking for this to be expedited, please?
Yeah, the project's done, so I just want to rush it along to get the contractor paid. They did their best to finish in a timely manner, so I'd like to get them squared away.
Any other questions? Okay,
Hey,
yes, Councilman Burns, go ahead.
thanks. Pat, I just want to say nice work on that winter carousel over at Rec Park. That was great.
Thank you very much. Credit goes all to the rest of the staff. They took care of it for me this year.
You did a great job. Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Pat.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Dan, you're up next, and let's see, I think you're there. There you
Yep.
are.
How you doing?
Hi, we have RL 290 up first.
Yes, we're transferring funds to help with the overtime costs. And I think I said it once already, with the COVID and with so many guys being out and we were short on guys, instead of us having like 6 trucks out there, we only ended up with 3 one day, most of the time 4. So instead of getting it all done within the 8 hours, they end up working 10 hours a lot. So there was a lot of overtime there that we didn't account for.
Okay, any questions or comments? All right, let's move on to the next one, 297.
And that's for central garage. That's for different expenses there, as far as the heating and everything else. That's where they fix the vehicles, the garbage trucks, the snow plows. So there's a little shortcoming in money there that we want to transfer to cover the cost in that building.
Councilwoman Frieden?
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Dan, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Can you explain to us why you're asking for this to be expedited, please?
Well, the overtime costs, we're paying the men right now. And that's, we're behind with that. And the central garage, that there's work we've already done that we have to pay out.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night,
Have a
Dan.
good night.
All right, let's move to Charlie. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good.
Good. Good to
I'm
see
here
you.
tonight to ask the owners to transfer $4,200 into our protective clothing line from the contingency line. We're experiencing extreme inflation for the nitrile gloves that we live and die by. There's a state preferred vendor and they've put us on a quota and also tripled the prices. We used to pay $52 a case in February 2020, just prior to COVID. Now we're paying $167 for that same case of 500 gloves. And with the quota system, they've limited us to one of each size per month. So we have to go out to other vendors like Granger and Fisher. They don't have a state contract, so they're charging what the market will bear. So we're really taking a hit on the nitrile gloves.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Charlie.
All righty, thank you. Have a good night. Merry Christmas.
You too. Take care. Next up, we have Franco for RL 21-294. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Can you tell us about this RL a little bit?
Sure. I don't have the agenda in front of me. Is this the one for the resolution for Barton and Judas? Is that the one?
This is 294 and authorize the mayor to enter into supplemental agreement number 3 with Barton and Judas for the Main Street corridor.
Yep. This is going to be for additional, as I said, engineering, design, and right-of-way services.
Can you
that the
just speak up
federal
just a little bit
government,
more?
yeah, that the federal government has increased on us. The project was started back in 2017, and recently they changed some of the parameters, so we have to do some additional right-of-way services. So that's why the additional $98,000 is requested for this. And it goes from Front Street all the way to the Arch in Johnson City. That's the whole corridor.
My mic was off. Councilman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Frank, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Okay, so I have to admit I was a little bit confused by the documents that were included in the packet. I tried my best to read through them, but in particular, so this legislation is for supplemental agreement with Barton and LeJudas, but there seem to be other documents with other companies included in there. For example, let me scroll down here for 1 second. Like for example, on page 17 of the packet, or sorry, page 18 was Ravi Engineering and Land Surveying, which was another. This might be something simple that I'm not understanding, but I was wondering if you could maybe explain a little bit about like what these other documents that are not Barton and LeJudas, why they're included or what they have to do with this RL.
Sure. I believe those those other two firms, Robbie and the other firm, specialize in those services or those right-of-way services. And I also believe that they will also fulfill the MBE, WBE requirements on the project. And the company they originally wanted to use could not meet the schedule of trying to get this, all the documents completed and partially and possibly out for construction in 2022.
Okay, so that makes sense. Thank you for that information. So to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, though these other firms that specialize in safety improvements and also meet the MWBE requirements, they would be performing the work in lieu of Barton and LaJudas?
Nope,
Or
they
they
would be their sub-consultants on the project.
Okay. I see. Okay, so the supplemental agreement is with Barton and LaJudas, who will then subcontract with these other firms that specialize in the safety corridor improvements and meet the federal requirements. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for explaining that to me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, there are no other questions regarding this RL. Let's move on to the next. And that is 296, demo for the Water Street parking.
We are scheduled to start the demolition of the Water Street parking ramp starting on Monday. And we're requesting an earlier time. I believe it's from moving from 7:30, I think it is, or 7 to 5 o'clock in the morning. From it will be from December 27th to February 28th.
Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you explain why you are asking for this to begin at 5 a.m., please?
We're trying to get this project also completed in a timely manner. And also the department store Boscov's has asked us if we can work up until 11 o'clock in that area. And that way they could open up the store again for the public Monday through Friday.
Okay, I'm just thinking about the residents that live nearby. I know I'm not a morning person, and I would be worried that this would be noisy very early in the morning. And I understand that, of course, from Boscov's point of view, they would not want construction to be happening while customers are in the store. But there are a fair number of people who live downtown. I would just be worried about, a demolition of a parking garage would be quite noisy, I would think. Are there any like noise parameters or like decibel limits within certain times?
I believe we're asking our contracts that we have for construction will say we do not want any construction to start before 7 o'clock, and that's why we are asking for this. The only time that they will be doing that is while they're working over the Boscov's men's department as it stands right now. So that even though we've asked for that whole time frame from December 27th all the way to February 28th, that actual time in the morning will actually be cut considerably because they still have the other section of the ramp they have to take out and they have to demolish.
Mm-hmm. I see. I don't know. Do you know off the top of your head what time Boscov's opens? Is it 8 a.m.? I
In
don't
the
know.
discussion today, they open at 10, but they're going to move that time back
To 11?
to 11. Yes.
Okay.
Aviva, that is to enter into the men's store. There's gonna be like, it's gonna be cordoned off, so you couldn't walk into the men's store until we stop working up above it. And that is plans to be 11 o'clock.
Okay.
They will
Gotcha.
still continue to work on the project, but not above the men's store. There'll be stuff over in the parking lot that they've already demolished, and they'll be moving trucks in and out of there until 4 or 5 o'clock. So
Okay.
they'll be working above the store from 5 to 11, and then in the parking lot from 11 to 5.
Oh, I see. But there could still be demolition work done at 5 a.m. potentially.
Most of the work that's going to be happening between 5 and 11 is, I won't call it the demolition that you think. They're going to be going up and cutting the concrete that's up there, putting it into a lift and taking it and moving it into the parking lot.
Okay.
Okay. That's the issue of the safety concerns with Boscov's, that no one can be there, and they get it started as early as possible so they can get as much of that done before people come there.
Right.
There-
Yeah, no, I get that.
And it may take them an hour in the morning just to get it set up to the point where they have the lifts and everything in place.
Right.
Is it going to be quiet? Absolutely not. Okay. But is it going to be what you might think of a crashing thing? It won't be as like that until the afternoon.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I live 2 lots away from the fire station project, and they get started early on that. So I'm, trying to keep everyone in mind, especially people like me who are not morning people. But that makes sense. Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments, Franco? Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Franco, can you stay around?
I will be here.
Okay.
Chuck, you're up next.
RL 21-288 is to amend the 2015 bond for the reconstruction of the State Street project outside City Hall. We've had some issues and we owe a vendor, I believe it's $81,000. I'm not 100% sure that's the exact number, that we finally came to a resolution on. And I need to increase this bond ordinance to cover that payment to that vendor, who is the construction company, Barrett Paving. I don't know, Franco, if you want to add anything about the actual 81,000.
Certainly, yes. Chuck, you are correct. $81,860.82 to be exact. And that will complete our contract with them. Our consultant has been working to get these finalized. The majority of that, $75,462.05, is for additional sub-base material, and also for additional and to remove and replace the emergency preemptive system that is used by our fire trucks. So when they're going into an intersection that has a traffic signal, it will allow them to go through. Both of those combined, as I said, are $75,462.05. There is a $3,000, $3,958.85 fee that our consultant that put the project together and the design has offered to pay us back for that. And it needed to be done per the plans. And then while they were putting it in, they discovered that it needed to get changed. So most of that $3,958.85 is for manpower from Barrett Construction.
Does anyone have any questions or comments on that? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next one, 293.
293, going through the budget process, a lot of different departments were asking for vehicles and stuff of that nature. And we elected not to do anything with it during the budget process, with the intention that we would see how the end of the year came in. And after reviewing all the numbers, in particular, the amount of money that we're getting in sales tax, the mayor's asking if we can send down to move $175,000 out of fund balance to purchase vehicles. And I say this, I don't know how many vehicles we can purchase, hopefully 5 or 6. We want at least 5, but trying to get vehicles off of a lot right now or getting them on orders like pretty much a year process. We're going to go out and do a mini bid to the different Ford dealerships around here and see what we could get for $175,000. Vehicles are needed in the Parks Department, Code Enforcement, Mayor's Office, IT. I won't just single out IT. I'd say a lot of departments have a use for a vehicle now and then to go to the training classes or stuff of that nature. But that's where those vehicles will end up.
Chuck, can I jump in for 1 second? I saw the RL said 5. And so when I drafted it, I said up to 5. Do you want it to say up to 6?
I would say up to $175,000 because I don't know how many vehicles we're going to get. I see vehicles somewhere in the 23 to 25,000, and I see the next batch may only be 36,000. It's so crazy out there, and I think if we put a number out there for 175,000 and see what each one of the dealerships are willing to do for us, I don't think it'll be more than 6, to be honest with you.
Okay, I just have to redraft it because it had 5 on it. So if we're going to potentially purchase more than 5, I just have to update the legislation.
I think if you can put up to 6, that would be great.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the last one, 295.
295, as we've been talking about the Water Street Garage for the last year, it was the intention of the mayor to always put money from fund balance towards this project so the city taxpayers did not have to pay for it over the next 30 years. And in this case, he would like to move $7 million while he's the mayor into a reserve account to help pay for this project. It will have to come back to you after we get the bids in to know exactly how much we want to use, but our intention is to use $7 million out of this project so that the ramp will stand on its own going forward.
Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you, Madam President. Can you tell us why you have asked for this to be expedited, please?
We would like to have it expedited so it's on the books at the end of 2021. Basically, what's going to happen is, I'll just use a number. If we had $20 million in fund balance, that 20 million is going to stay in fund balance. The difference is 7 million of it's going to be restricted, and 13 million would be unrestricted if that whole 20 million was. So it's just setting it up to be in the proper accounts at year end.
Okay, and that, well, I see. So if it's not expedited, even though the RL, wait, sorry. So if it's done by year end, then it would be tied up for the 2022 budget in a way that it wouldn't be if we
Yes.
went through the normal timeline of this.
Correct. What, Aviva, what's important is to move it out of the reserve. You guys need to approve that. Okay, this isn't giving
Right.
7 million to spend on it. We're putting it into a reserve account. Then we're gonna have to come back to council to move it out of that reserve account.
Right, I understand that. I was just confused about the timeline, like why it's necessary in order to do that, to expedite this. I'm just, I always ask about expediting, and also almost all of this entire packet has to be expedited. So I'm just trying to be like, I'm trying to understand why that.
I think that happens at the end of the year.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for Chuck? Councilman Burns?
Thank you, Madam President. Hi, Chuck.
Hello, Councilman Burns. How you doing?
Is that your home? Is that your basement you're in, or what?
No, this is my office 24/7.
Oh. Anyway, the fund balance. So what will that leave unencumbered in the fund balance?
I don't have that right in front of me, but what I could tell you is what I did an analysis last week, and there's a lot of moving parts to this thing because of the lost revenue. Okay. Right now I'm estimating that to be roughly 24 million. Okay. If we encumber 7 of this, that would make 17 million. It's not really this number, 17 million unrestricted and 7 million restricted. It's a number greater than that. It's going to be probably like, and I haven't broken out the restricted and the unrestricted yet. Out of the $24 million total fund balance is an accurate number. And I would guess it's probably going to be in the $12 million restricted, 12 million unrestricted range. It would be pretty much a split between what's restricted and unrestricted.
So in essence, we'll have a $12 million fund balance.
A 12 million. Well, it's not necessarily that, Councilman Burns, because that 12 million can be used at other projects or other things. It's the other 12 million is also a safety net in some areas. Okay. Like we have stuff in there for flooding, for tax reduction and things of that. There's never been reserves set up in the past in the city of Binghamton. These reserves were set up, I think, in the 17 time period to take some of the fund balance and put it where it's a safety net going forward.
Do you at the end of the year give us is it possible to get a breakdown of?
Yes, yes.
Where everything is and how much is actually left for emergencies?
Yes, and I'll break it all out. Like when I say that, there's already money in reserves for emergencies. If we had one that you can draw from. Okay.
Okay. Be great to see a breakdown of the whole thing.
What I'll do is I'll send you what's out there right now. Okay. So at least you have an idea what it is, and I'll send you what's restricted right now.
Okay. All right.
And I do feel comfortable right now at the end of the year, it'll be about 24 million altogether.
Okay. All right. It sounds like a lot of money, but then when you say it's that so much is restricted, then it comes down to being not a lot of money.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. I'd love to see it. All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Councilwoman Riley?
Thank you, Council President. Hello, Chuck. How are you?
Good, good.
Good. Do you have an estimate at this time about how much money will be rolled over from the unused departmental funds back into our general fund?
I don't know that number right off the top of my head. I will tell you that rolls into that $24 million.
So do we think it's enough are we looking at almost 7 million that would recoup this 7 million that's being asked to be?
Well, part of the 7 million is coming from that lost revenue number.
Okay.
So I think we moved over 12 million at one time, 7 million of it, I would say, coming from there.
Right. But I mean, in terms of unused funds in the departments, as of today.
No, there will not be 7 million of unused funds in the departments. I can assure you of that.
Okay. So what is the general assessment? What do you think it would be? So we're aware. I mean, just
it will be less than $1 million.
Oh, it'll be less than $1 million.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And
All
that
right.
will be, well, when you give us the end of year assessment, you'll show us the rolled over funds as well and how it is determined if it is appropriated or, restricted or unrestricted.
Yes, yes.
Okay, because typically when it comes from the departments, it's unrestricted unless we have
Right.
justify, okay. Thank
Once you
you.
change that, correct.
Thank you.
The other thing is too, our sales tax is probably coming over $1.5 million over budget. So that was a big number. One last thing, Council President, I believe, okay, and I know Ken's out there. We talked about the noise variance for the Water Street parking ramp. I believe, Ken, I think you're still there. We need to have a hearing on that, a public hearing.
Yeah, I actually, while you were talking, I sent a note out to you and to Brian Seacrest that would probably be pulled from Wednesday night's agenda. It would have a public hearing, and so we'd be setting the public hearing on Wednesday.
Okay.
But Brian was the one who actually, I was doing something else. Brian had checked on this. So I just want to make sure that I'm right.
And
Yes, thank you.
I have one, Council President, I have one other thing that's,
Sure, go ahead.
I asked to add it to the list, but I don't see it here, is when you approved the CSEA contract, included in there that we discussed about was using $10,000 for premium pay. But we never did a special resolution for that. Ken's gonna write up a special resolution for that for Wednesday night so that we can pay these individuals before the end of the year. And Aviva, we're asking to get it expedited. When I was running, I won't say running the payroll, when I was going through the whole process today, I document everything, put things together, and I was looking for that document saying that we're using ARPA funds for that, and that wasn't there. So I think this is the appropriate way to handle this one, even though it was discussed about that. I think putting it in legislation is the right way to do it.
It's just, it's tracking the funds.
Yeah. Great. Okay, thank you. Councilman O'Reilly, I see your hand up.
No, I just wanted to agree because it is listed on the spreadsheet. And so each item on the spreadsheet should also have an RL associated with it, correct?
You're correct. And that's how I caught this as I was going through that. I thought we should do an RL on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Chuck.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have RL 298, and that would be, well, it says Jared, but I don't see Jared up there.
Council President, I think this is the one that Mayor David talked about with both of these 298 and 299.
Actually, yes, they were connected. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Although 20 and 22, he did talk about selling the properties.
Right.
And 29 is using ARPA funds for that
Yes.
project.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So next up, then we have the pending legislation. Lee?
Okay, so there's a lot here on pending legislation. And between this and what's been expedited, I mean, we're looking at 35, 36 pieces of legislation for Wednesday night. And if you have any questions, please let us know. And just a quick shout out to our deputy clerk. She's been working really hard trying to get all this legislation written. And we also have, we're down 2 attorneys up in Corp Counsel, and Chuck is stretched thin too. So getting all these together has been quite the challenge, but we should have the packet ready tomorrow for everybody. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for everything you guys do. Is that a hand, Councilman Riley? Go ahead.
Yeah, we also have 2 hearings tomorrow too, right? Or how many hearings?
Yes, we have
3.
Yes.
We have 3. Wait, Phil said 3.
Do we have 3? I thought we had 3. Maybe we don't.
I think we have 2. They're both on the bonding. And then
Yeah,
we're setting.
You might be right. For some reason, I thought there was 3, but there might probably 2.
We're setting one right.
Right.
I
And we're also
I
setting.
think we have 2 on the bonds and 1 on the CDBG money.
So that's
Yeah.
3.
That's 3.
Okay.
And then we're also setting the one for the Water Street Garage. The
Okay.
demo.
Anything else? Well, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Oh, Councilwoman Riley, looks like a
Just
hand.
one more question. I just want to clarify. Well, maybe I'll send an email, but is this someone else's last work session as well? Someone that keeps popping in from, I thought, right?
I didn't, can you repeat that? I'm so sorry, I didn't hear you.
Is this someone else's last work session as well? Someone retiring?
I
With the
think
red
so.
shirt?
Yes, it is.
Yes, so we want to
Ken.
give him, I have to give his shout out. Yes, right.
I have attended almost every work session for almost 16 years.
So we wanted to recognize that as well, Ken Frank. I couldn't let you slip out of here without bringing that to everyone's attention.
Well, thank you very much. I wish all of you well.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. We appreciate
Take
it.
good care.
All right, Ken.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night. I'm a little envious of everybody. All right, so with that, if I'll take a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Meeting adjourned.
Night.
Good night. Happy holidays, everybody.
Wednesday.